welcome back. I'm still here in Cuba. We've got one more day left. It's still a little cloudy and windy, but it's off of the beach day because they've got the ocean closed. You're not allowed to go swimming in today, so everyone's at the pool dancing. I'm not much of a dancer. But anyway, I wanted to discuss how hiking the AT can change your body in ways you hadn't expected. I know the title says how the AT ruined my health, and it definitely changed it. Some for the better, some for the worst. So I just kind of wanted to go over that because I think there's a lot of misconceptions of what a thru hike would do to your body and what it won't do to your body. So now granted, this is my personal experience. I am a woman of 50, so this may not have any relevance on you if you're like in your 20s and you're full of, you know, lots of energy and cartilage and all of those wonderful things. But to start with, just to remind you in case you hadn't watched the videos before, I went Southbound. So we started in June, and because I was going southbound, I trained about 5 months before I started. I did have issues in my sort of shakedown hikes previous to that with knee issues, a lot of IT band. So essentially that deep pain you get mostly going downhill. And that was really due to a lack of muscle imbalance and weak gluteus medius, so the smaller butt muscle essentially, just sort of internally rotating my hips and whatnot. So I didn't have a good gait, and certainly not downhill, and it caused me a lot of knee pain. So I went to a physiotherapist, I worked 5 months. I will put the link to the video of the workout that I did down below, and you can check that out. And it did work. I didn't have any knee pain that stopped me. I mean, I did have a bit of knee pain, but that was just from overworking your legs, because you don't stop, you just keep going. So, you know, obviously you're gonna have a bit of pain because your body's just simply not used to it. So if you're wondering why I keep looking down, I wrote a notepad here. So it took me about a good solid month and a half to get my trail legs going. I didn't have a lot of, I'm not a very muscular person, I'm quite tiny. So it took a while to get those leg muscles going and just to feel confident and strong enough to be doing the kind of miles and increasing it, because we started off with about 8 to 10 miles on average. Well, about 8 to 12 really, as most days for the first little bit, and then we ramped up. And we were consistently, once we got past Maine and New Hampshire, doing about 16 to 20 miles. Oh, great, I think we're mowing the lawn over there now. So it took a while for that to actually occur. But I did notice early on, when we started off, that in Maine and New Hampshire, that I was getting some nutritional deficits. I was noticing a lot of muscle cramping, a lot of leg restlessness, pain in my feet, and a bit of numbness starting in. And part of that was due to vitamin deficiency, so I was definitely deficient in calcium and magnesium, which is hard to get on a thru hike diet. At least a thru hike diet that, if you're not really thinking of your diet, like I said, as a young person, you can probably get away with that a little bit more, but ramen noodles, tuna, like, you really need to be conscious of what minerals you're including if you're not taking a multivitamin. And in the get-go, I did have a multivitamin, but I really did need extra calcium and magnesium, especially a woman in your 50s. Those things you kind of need more of anyway, so I didn't really factor that in, and I did notice it. I did notice the muscle cramps. I had a lot of sort of problems just relaxing my muscles at the end of the day. And so those are something to think about. There are ways to fix that. Like, you could bring supplements with you. I did, like I said, I brought plain vitamins, like just your multivitamin, but I didn't factor in like a vitamin C or anything. I did later on. I also found that I craved vitamin C, so later on I would buy the whole liter of orange juice and drink the whole thing. It's a good way to get calories in, I might add, because there's a lot of calories in a jug of orange juice. So, you know, vitamin deficiency is huge among thru hikers, especially because, I mean, you're just not getting the kind of calories you need. You're really stressing your body out. You're putting it through a lot. You're not giving it time to repair. Next, what else we got? Definitely, I did on the stops crave a lot of vegetables and salads, so I would eat a lot of those, but you also want calories, and they don't have a lot of calories, so you know, you want to eat a lot of burgers, and so you just not getting all the nutrition you need. And I think most thru hikers know that, and a lot of thru hikers by the end of it look quite thin. A lot of people lose a lot of weight. I didn't lose too much weight. I lost probably about 8 pounds, but I definitely did notice a different body composition. Jeff lost about 30 pounds, and he definitely got a lot leaner. A lot of the men I do find kind of look like they've come out of concentration camps by the end of it. The women tend to just reconfigure their weight. But if you had a lot of extra weight to begin with, chances are likely you're going to lose it if you have it to lose. I didn't have a whole lot to lose. I certainly had some weight to lose, but my body really held on to the weight. And when we got the van, obviously my nutrition improved greatly, and I could consume a lot more calories. And there goes the wind. Anyway, so I could consume a lot more calories, and so I did. So I didn't really, I probably could have, well, I know other people certainly who did lose a lot more weight than I did. But again, like I said, I had increased nutrition. As well as, I think I mentioned this in one of my earlier prep videos. I talked about the increasing need for protein as you age, because you just don't, your body doesn't utilize it as much as you did when you were younger. So it is important that you get extra protein. And when you're building your muscles, like on a hike and breaking them down, you do need the extra protein. And it is hard to get, I find, just with all the protein bars and just adding the tuna and whatnot. It is difficult to get. Nuts as well are a great way to do that. So it was nice when we had the van, I could do that, because you get sick of the tuna packets real fast, or at least I did. Maybe some people didn't. So you definitely learn to bulk up your meals when you get into town as a way of getting protein. So we did a lot of that as well. And power bars, I found they got boring real fast. But there are definitely ways, you know, as long as you can handle doing that, you can get your protein. But I find it was much more challenging. So, you know, a lot of people lost a lot of muscle mass. I mean, they were gaining it and losing it at the same time. Like the body just was cannibalizing everything it had just to keep you going, because you just need those extra calories. So that was important, as well as electrolytes. I found that particularly even when it was hot, like obviously when it was hot, you definitely need to be replacing your electrolytes, because you're losing a lot of salts just through your general sweat. And I find as well especially on rainy days, you don't tend to want to drink a lot of fluids. So you need to kind of keep that in mind as well. So electrolytes are also really important for your health. Now, being that you are exercising, you're increasing your immune system, which is great. So I didn't ever get sick on the trail. I did know a few people who did. So, you know, you definitely need to take care of yourself. You need to take those extra days off. And we did take a fair number of zeros, particularly in the beginning, mostly because we were wet, and just mentally and physically your body just needed to rest, because you're putting it through a lot of strain. And you know, they tell the bodybuilders take a day off, because you build up your muscle mostly when you're resting. So the same is true for thru hiking, but you can't do that because you want to make the miles. So definitely you need to rest, as well, because it was raining practically for 2 months solid, and our feet were soaked. I didn't get trench foot. I didn't get athlete's foot. Those are all bacterial issues having to that are due to the fact that you're wearing wet shoes and your feet are gross, and it's just, you've got to let them dry out in between. So it was really important to take those days off, to have camp shoes, because I was pretty on the fence about the camp shoes in the beginning, because I didn't realize the rain factor. But once we got in there, I was really happy to have picked up a new pair of camp shoes at Shaw's. We picked up the Zero sandals, which are great because they allowed you to air out your feet, so you didn't get funky toes. I didn't have any blisters, but I dealt with those right away, because if you had gotten blisters and you had the open sores and then you got the funky feet, you could have been in for some really nasty surprises. So you want to take care of yourself on trail. You really, you know, it'll wreck you if you're not careful. Let's see what else I got. You definitely want to take care of your feet. I originally started off with the Hokas, which I found out pretty quickly, especially when they were wet and dry, that they were not wide enough in the toe box. I found my toes starting to go numb. I was breaking through the seams, so I switched those out before they were due to be finished, because I could have probably ran another 200 miles on those shoes, but they just didn't feel comfortable, and I got rid of them, and I'm so glad I did. As well, with the AT, you have to be really careful about like scrapes and whatnot. There were a few people on the hike that got some pretty good scrapes, and they didn't keep them quite as clean as they should have, and they got some staph infections, and they had to go into ERs or doctor's offices and get some rounds of antibiotics, and all of that could have, not necessarily, but likely easily prevented by just cleaning with alcohol wipes or chlorhexidine wipes, just keeping it really clean, because there's a lot of bacteria out there, and our skin naturally has staph on it, so some people are just prone to it, and there's nothing you can do but just keep it clean. I didn't have any issues like that. I did have plenty of scrapes, but like I said, I kept it pretty clean, so that didn't turn out anything horrible. I mean, ultimately, when you do that kind of a hike, 2,200 miles, you're going to build muscle in your legs. Your muscles are also going to break down, so if you're not feeding it enough, you can only build so much. That's why it's important to, to certainly take care of yourself. But I definitely built muscles in my ass, my thighs, my calves, even my feet. They've definitely got a lot stronger. But what didn't get stronger, and I found this out recently after I got back and tried to get back into the gym, is how poor my upper body strength is. I have no upper body strength left. I tried to do half of the weights I used to do before I went on the hike, and oh my goodness. Like, I know you're lifting a pack, and my pack started off at about 27 pounds, and it ended up between 18 to 20 pounds. So it got considerably lighter, and I got stronger, but my back, my arms, my upper body did not get stronger. So I lost a lot of the muscle mass I had up here, moved it down there, but it was only muscle mass for hiking. If I wanted to do other things that weren't sort of hiking directed, I didn't really have the same muscle strength. So I would try to do some squats with and whatnot, and you'd think that would translate really well, but it doesn't necessarily. However, what did increase tremendously was my cardiovascular, because I went for a run afterwards and found that I could really run a lot harder, faster, longer than I probably have ever run before. So my cardio was hugely, hugely improved. And I noticed that when I was hiking too. Like, I could just hike up a mountain all day, and I would be tired by the end of it, but I could do it. Prior to building my trail legs, there's no way I could have done such a thing. So, I definitely did have an improved cardio, so that was really great. And with the improved cardio means I also had improved vascular growth. And what that really means is just the blood vessels in your body just can transport more blood. So I have Raynaud's, and I have small vasculature, so I don't really have hair on my legs, never have. And one thing I did notice when I was hiking is that with all the increased exercise and the moving of the blood, that suddenly I had hair on my legs, which I'm very proud of this now. I have hair on my legs again. But that was due to the increase in my cardiovascular. So that was unexpected. I expected to grow muscle and all that, but I don't know why, I just didn't expect that one. So that was a really nice surprise. Definitely one of the things I didn't really hear about prior to hiking, but I definitely found out afterwards, and it's actually pretty common with a lot of hikers, is we all end up with numb toes. Like, we have nerve damage in our feet, essentially. It's a lot of the swelling that occurred walking, just our nerves moving around the bones, getting pinched, sometimes lack of blood flow to those specific areas, tight shoes, lots of different reasons. And sometimes this nerve deadness, really, it's kind of like your foot's half numb in certain sections. It's very, some people refer to it as like cotton ball toes or something. You don't have the sort of feeling and sensation you used to have. And I do find that I have pieces of my, well, yeah, parts of my toes really, and several of them, that just have lack of sensation. So a lot of people seem to indicate to me that that will regain in roughly a year-ish, but you know, everyone's different. Nerves grow or regain their sensation very slowly, and some may never. So that is certainly something to think about, that you may end up having toes that just are permanently numb. I don't know. We'll find out if mine come back, but I've definitely got numb toes, and I'm not terribly keen about it, but you know, I wasn't going to let it stop me. It's not like I can't feel my feet and feel walking. It's just really awkward. What else? Oh, now for some people, nerve damage might be a vitamin B deficiency. I know it's not for me, but so that's something you might want to check out in blood work afterwards, just to make sure, because that will have an effect on it too. But again, it could just be from walking on your feet too long. Finally, one of the things I didn't really expect, and I actually thought quite the opposite while I was on the hike, is that I thought my sleep would improve because you'd be so exhausted and you would just fall asleep. That wasn't the case. I was never a great sleeper when I was camping anyway. And it's not your bed. It's you know, you're in a sleeping bag. It's not as comfortable. Some people sleep great outside and they have the best sleep of their lives. I'm not one of those people. My sleep certainly improved a lot when the van came, because I essentially had my own bed. But you know, you're still pretty cramped. It's not a big space, and Jeff is a fairly big fella. So between the two of us, you know, you have enough, you have certainly more room than a sleeping pad, but not a whole lot. So my sleep did improve, but since a lot of your muscle repair occurs when you're sleeping and resting, and you're not getting great sleep, you're constantly kind of wearing down your system. And like I said, exercise improves your immunity, but you know, your body can only take so much. So it really does take a toll on your health. So one of the other things to think about that I was concerned with anyway, as being a small older woman whose bones are, you know, osteoporosis is always something on my mind. And I thought that bone stressing, so you know, the pack, the weight, and the hiking would increase my bone strength, and that's was the intent of it. And I think for me, I managed to do that, partially because I was supplementing with calcium, because the orange juice I drank had the extra calcium in it, plus the vitamin C and the calories. So it was a win-win for me. Not something a lot of people, I think, have access to on the trail without having access to somewhere you can go to the grocery stores quite frequently. There's a lot of the small trail towns that won't have that available to them, and it's really expensive if you're not in a bigger grocery store. But I made sure to be cognizant of that. Is definitely want to be aware of my bones. Now, for some people, if they're not supplementing and they're prone to bone depletion, because stressing the body will leach calcium out of you, you might have the opposite effect. So that's, you know, just something to think about. Probably not for the younger people, because you're still building your bones, but for older people, something to think about. So ultimately, the AT didn't totally wreck my health, but it changed it in ways I didn't expect. I think I probably fared better than a lot of people because I was supported and had access to better nutrition and rest that maybe a lot of people wouldn't have had. So it's not that you can't duplicate that, you just have to be aware of it and plan for it. And I hadn't planned for it in the beginning because I wasn't aware of it, and I don't think a lot of people were aware of it. So the hike, you know, ultimately did improve my strength. It depleted my strength in some areas, but it was definitely all good. Okay, so one of the problems that I still struggle with now, other than the toe numbness, is stiff ankles. Now, this was something I noticed on the trail quite a bit. You wake up at night, well, really, anytime you stop and you stiffen up and you start to weeble wobble until things get moving along. But I do find my ankles, especially in the morning, well, really only in the morning until they start to wake up, are still really stiff. So I do find the midnight shuffle to the bathroom is a little challenging, but you know, they get going. They will heal, and through some strengthening and flexibility, that will definitely that'll definitely change. My muscles are a lot stiffer now because I didn't do nearly as much yoga as I anticipated I was going to do on the trail. I had big plans to do yoga every day and it just didn't happen. I did do some stretching and I'm glad I did because your hips get really tight, your hamstrings get really tight, your ankles, so you do, and your toes and your feet, those definitely need stretching, but I just couldn't do the kind of stretching I thought I was going to do because you're just, honestly, you're too tired, you don't feel like it. So I would recommend trying to do at least a little bit in the morning before you get going. Some other things I hadn't anticipated that would change in my body, clearly I anticipated an improved cardio, and I got that. But the bowel habit changing, I didn't anticipate. I was told that I may poop my pants and that you might get the runs, but I was kind of thought that was a one-off thing. I didn't think that would be like changing your habits, but when your body exercises that much, it does actually change your bowel habits. And also, unless you've got a lot of privies and you're not going outside, just the way you sit down and go to the bathroom is going to change your bowel habits. So those are things I didn't anticipate. So that was quite interesting. So to be said, the AT didn't wreck me entirely, but it definitely changed me in ways that I hadn't anticipated. So, you know, if you, something to think about if you're planning your trip. And if you found this enjoyable, please give it a thumbs up and do subscribe, and I will be throwing out a few more videos as post-hike information. So thank you for watching.